Hi, good afternoon everyone. So we're going from full building reuse to material reuse. I'll just give a couple of quick examples of what we've done in Japan, but then more importantly, how did we manage it using a software platform called Upcyclia. So the first example I'll give is from the Women's Pavilion. I don't know how many of you had a chance to visit Expo2025. You may have seen the Women's Pavilion out there. Looks something like this. If any of you visited Dubai 4 years earlier, you would have seen a very similar pavilion. And the reason for that is that we used a lot of the facade from Dubai to recreate the pavilion in Osaka. So overall, we managed to reduce CO2 emissions by around 50%. But that was partly from reuse, but partly from using CO2-friendly materials, which I'll show about in a minute. What we reused is the facade, as I explained, but then we also leased steel beams, which are usually used for retaining earth. We used them in the structure, and of course, once the structure has been finished, those steel beams can then be returned to the original purpose of earth retention. So very innovative use of reusing materials. So if you look at where the 48% reduction came from, the orange areas here are the reuse. So 38% actually came from the steel beams, 10% from the facade. The rest came from cleancrete and using electric blast furnace steel beams. So overall, I think we talked a lot about clean materials today, obviously showing there that's up to 50%, but by reuse you can contribute another 50%. Here another diagram just showing the amount of reduction. So blast furnace steel beams went down from 450 to 112. But of course, once you're using facade reusing beams, you're going from 45 if we'd have produced them from scratch down to 0. How did we manage this? It was quite a complex process, but this shows how technology can also be used. So these different parts here from the facade, all different lengths. We had to put a QR code on each and every part when we dismantled it. The facade was actually not the same shape when we re-erected it, so it was redesigned, and then we used a system to manage all the parts and had to put them back together in exactly the right place in the end. So you can imagine we had to plan the new design to reuse exactly the same amount of parts as the original design was, whilst still maintaining a new look and feel. So final slide from me is how do we manage all this? Obviously keeping track of all these parts, understanding the CO2 implications is very difficult. So we sourced a technology from France, which we're using to manage and measure all this. And Eric has traveled over from France to talk a little bit more about the concepts behind reuse, recycling, and circular economy.